The Iowa Hawkeyes getting set to start an anticipated 2017.
The first time I saw a photo, it was just the back of a head, and it was looking down onto the field, and I thought, wow, something needed to be done.
Nurses, they were kind of milling about, being like, there might be something. But I still didn't know exactly what was going to happen.
Turning around, waving to the kids waving back. What a cool scene.
Right through, and the Hawkeyes have stunned the Wolverines.
Being no professional sports in Iowa, football is king. The energy, the atmosphere that you have on a Saturday afternoon, it's unmatched. When I was first on campus, Kinnick was kind of the iconic view. But now the iconic view is Kinnick with the Children's Hospital overlooking it. The hospital has really been known for pediatrics and specialties for a long time.
Because of the nature of the hospital, we see the sickest children from across the state and other states as well. My role as a child life specialist was really to help children be children during illness, not just seeing them as a diagnosis, but as a child that has very unique needs. One of the rewarding aspects of working in the hospital is seeing how children are so resilient.
My mom went into labor 6.5 weeks early with me, and thankfully I was born, still healthy, but 6.5 weeks premature. One of the visits that I got to go on to the Children's Hospital, seeing those kids, there's definitely times where I was thinking of possible situations if they would have gone slightly different for me. I wouldn't have been in the situation that I was in, being able to share my story with those parents.
I think that Reed saw every single one of those players as a playmate. Right after Reed turned 2 in late August of 2017, we had noticed some flu-like symptoms in Reed. And then he was having some balance issues when he was walking.
Going to the pediatrician, they kept telling us, well, it could be this or it could be that.
We were just like, we're done. We're going to Iowa City. There is something else going on here. Doctor came out and he sat us down and said, Reed's got a brain tumor in the back of his brain. Our life just got completely flipped upside down that night. We were constantly in Iowa City. I think our first year we were there, we spent over 130 nights in the hospital.
I'm a pretty big Iowa fan. My family grew up in Dubuque, Iowa, about 80 miles from Iowa City. In the summer of 2017, when I was 16 years old, I ended up experiencing a lot of different health issues. It started with just like overall exhaustion, then my chin went numb, my eyesight started doubling, got really, really bad headaches. On August 1st, I went to Iowa City hospitals, and the doctor told me that I had cancer. About 5 days later, they had figured out that it was Burkitt's leukemia. I basically had to just settle into life in a hospital for a long, long time.
The University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital opened in early 2017, and it was built with children in mind from top to bottom. In the old settings of the hospital, children were receiving treatment in basically every wing on a number of different floors and really did not have that feel of being connected to the stadium. The new hospital, it's really just divided from the stadium itself by one street. Basically, you could stand by the hospital and throw a ball across the street, and you're at the stadium.
In my first room, it was nighttime, and all the lights were actually on in Kinnick Stadium, and I immediately went over to the window, and it was just one of the most magnificent things I'd ever seen.
The nurses kept telling us how cool it was on the 12th floor. Then you walk up to these windows and you look down, and it just takes your breath away.
It is the best view in the house, for sure.
I experienced that, the 12th floor, realizing that it looked right down into this stadium. The appropriate name for it was the press box. And there was a lot of excitement that, gosh, this will be a great place to be on Saturday.
I grew up in Anita, Iowa. Left for college, left for work for a while, but always find my way back. This is just about as good as a small town gets. Here in Anita, it's about a 2.5-hour drive to game day to Iowa City. We would always take the boys to the home opener. I remember seeing the hospital go up for years and years and years, but I didn't even know that Stead was a children's hospital at that time. I just thought it was a general hospital. When I started seeing the photos and realized, oh my gosh, it's fully kids, it just made it even more impactful. It's everyone's worst fear. I mean, something happening to your kids, having them up there. So I think that when I see it, I feel gratitude that we've been spared. In May of 2017, I had a daycare. It was nap time one day, and I was on Facebook. The first time I saw a photo, it was just the back of a head, and it was looking down onto the field, and I thought, wow, they can see everything. They were in such close proximity that you couldn't waste an opportunity like that. It was just a post on Hawkeye Heaven, which is just a fan-based group. I think with the new U of I Hospital Edition open, Kinnick should hold a Wave to the Kids minute during every game. Can you imagine how neat it would be to have all those fans, players, and coaching staff looking up at you and sending a little extra inspiration? I had no intentions whatsoever of anybody reading it, let alone responding, but less than an hour later, the administrator replied and he said he really liked it. He was going to push for it. I didn't necessarily forget about it, but I thought maybe that was it. A couple months later, some friends of mine started tagging me and said, hey, look at this. It's still going live.
I love producing live sports because everything is in real time, and it is an incredible rush. There is no format for how any game is going to go, and the best is not knowing. Our first assignment in the 2017 season was Wyoming at Iowa. I get a pregame timing sheet from the sports information department, and it lists every media timeout during the game. What are the things that are happening on the field? Between the first and second quarter, there's 3 or 4 items. The wave is not one of them. And there was no conversation about it during the week itself.
The anticipation is rising. The Iowa Hawkeyes getting ready to kick off the 2017 season in Iowa City.
When I first heard about the social media post, I think my first feeling was just, oh, that's cool. But I was so focused on being part of the football crowd that I hadn't really thought that much about the wave. We were busy just trying to kind of prepare for the game. As far as I knew, it was a social media thing. And so will that come off? And how will that come off? And how will it be received?
I knew it was out there, but I didn't know if it was actually going to become a thing. We were actually walking to the stadium, and there were some people tailgating, and one of them had hollered, "Hey, don't forget to wave." And I stopped and thought, holy cow, this might be real. Like, this might actually work.
Going into the game against Wyoming, it wasn't until either Friday or maybe Saturday morning that it was just briefly mentioned to me that, hey, at the end of the first quarter, the fans are going to wave to the hospital. It wasn't presented to me in a way of, hey, this is going to be a big thing. It was just really sort of in passing.
I was about a month into treatment. I remember waking up the first game day, having a pretty bad headache, feeling not great, a little bit nauseous. But I knew the first game was happening. I knew I kind of had to rally for it. Everyone was sort of perpetuating this idea that some big thing was going to be happening after the first quarter. But I had zero idea.
It was our wedding anniversary weekend. Before Reed had got diagnosed, we had gotten a hotel room for that night, just planning to be there and cheer on the Hawks. Little did we know that we were going to be there, but for a completely different reason.
Oh, I think it's very hot, Reed.
We got tickets from one of the nurses. She came in and was like, "Hey, somebody donated these tickets. You guys should go." We thought, it's our anniversary. We're going to go do this. We're going to go try to be happy for 3 hours.
Tears were streaming down the face of Nate Stanley's mom. That's how much his first career start means to her and his family.
That first game was extremely nerve-wracking. I remember before the game, I was actually physically sick. I was a wreck. I think actually my first completion that year was an interception.
That first quarter is actually kind of a blur. People get lost in the game. I really didn't have any expectations. I didn't really think it would be that big of a thing. I just wanted to see somebody doing it.
As the first quarter is ending, everyone just starts inching closer and closer to the windows in anticipation for something to happen.
The crowd was thick around the glass, and there were parents with children up on their shoulders so that they could see.
No score, Iowa, Wyoming, as we've reached the end of the period.
There'd been a lot of activity in the room, and suddenly there was, this flurry to kind of get to the windows, and then it got really quiet.
As soon as I saw everyone standing up and getting to their feet, it was like, oh, here we go.
Everyone turned around and started to wave at the Children's Hospital.
It's so hard to describe. You could see people's expression. You could see them smiling. And, they didn't just wave a little. They waved and waved. The people in the top row of the bleachers, you almost felt like you could reach out and they could hug you.
I had gotten my phone ready with hopes that I could get some footage of somebody somewhere doing it. I think I was just so shocked in the moment that it was actually working.
A week before, we didn't know anything about that hospital or who we would possibly be waving to. And now we turn around and we're waving at our son.
emotional to know that they're recognizing Reed and the many other kids that are in the hospital.
Look, they're waving.
It really dawned on me that that's the real fight going on.
My quarterback coach and I, Coach O'Keefe, we were talking about plays that we would want to run in the next series. And we kind of look at each other and just see everybody turning around, waving. The one main thing that I really took out of it was just seeing how happy those kids were waving down at us. A lot of them had signs that they were holding up. Some of them were, you know, I can imagine were on their tiptoes trying to just make themselves seem as big as they can.
3, 2, 1, we're in commercial break. And in a second, I saw all of our cameras shooting fans waving. We had assignments for the game action. There's no assignments given when we don't even know what we're gonna cover. I don't wanna say we're crusty veterans, but we've seen a lot of things. And I heard around the production truck people saying, oh my gosh, that's cool. I'm in communication with the announcers, and the thing I told them there was, hey, we're coming right back from break with this because this is awesome.
There's a ton of kids who are watching the Hawkeye game. And all the fans turning around, waving to the kids waving back as they watch. Man, I love this.
When they're, sorry. I don't think there's ever been a time where I have felt emotion in a production truck in a fashion like that.
I really felt like I was sort of the center of attention. It was really affecting me, and it brought me a lot of hope.
I think it gave the kids a feeling of, wow, I'm somebody. They care about me, and I'm important. After about halftime, you know, some of the children were tired, and as there was more space in the room, I looked around, and the thing that struck me was there were all these handprints and nose prints on the window, and that realization that this was almost tactile, that children could almost physically feel this connection.
What a cool scene here in Iowa City. You feel like that's a tradition starting today that will carry forward.
Here's Big Ten football. It's a big deal. The wave, it was about something other than football. The authenticity of how it started, it felt more genuine.
Oh, that is so neat.
It happened organically, and it was just more true.
I don't think I really realized how amazing it actually turned out to be until after, when you could see the footage from that 12th floor. Not until the next day when my phone started ringing off the hook and my email was blowing up that I realized that it really was such a huge thing.
2 weeks ago, an incredible tradition was started where at the end of the first quarter, all 70,000 fans in Kinnick Stadium turn, look up at the top floor of this hospital, and they wave in one of the most heartwarming traditions in all of college sports.
The first night game of that 2017 season was against Penn State. And that was when it was being discussed on Facebook that everyone was going to wave with their flashlights on.
Wow. God, that's a lot of people.
That is so neat.
I couldn't imagine cell phone flashlights making that much of an effect, but it was intense.
Oh.
After a few of the waves, Reed became friends with Jake Gervais, and then he was waving to Jake every single time we had a game. Reed would make him videos before the games that said, "Go Jake, go Hawkeyes, I love you."
some of those kids hear that this disease or disorder that they have is 1 in a million, and that's a bad type of special. All those kids feel like there's 75,000 people waving directly to them.
It is as special of a new tradition, obviously one of a kind, as you're going to find in this great sport.
It has become really big in such a short time simply because of the emotion of it.
I saw an interview once with a teenage boy, and he had to have a brain surgery. He was really down in the dumps. He didn't want to do rehab. He didn't want to eat. He finally busts out of it, and he said, "At least the Hawkeyes are here on Saturday."
A lot of kids with various illnesses at school, they're kind of maybe made fun of, and suddenly they're a big deal. They are an Iowa Hawkeye, and it kind of gives them a whole new sense of self. It wasn't just an Iowa thing. It really caught on, and others wanted to be involved in it.
To see visiting teams start to get excited to come do it, that's crazy to me.
We might be notified, have the kids look outside the windows at 2 p.m. because there's going to be a group of motorcycle riders that want to wave to the children.
I was definitely getting goosebumps every time just thinking about some of those kids that I had seen up in the children's hospital. Life is fragile, and I could have very easily been in that situation myself.
For Reed, the plan was that 6 months of high-dose chemotherapy was going to cure him of cancer. And within 3 months, he had completely relapsed all over his brain and spine. And this was the one that they said, we're not going to be able to cure. And he passed away on October 13th of 2020. So if we're at a game and we're turning around and waving, I am full of emotions of sadness. I miss Reed. I'm waving to Reed in heaven. I'm waving to others who are probably going through similar situations. The memories that we have for Reed being part of the wave, I feel so fortunate that we are able to have those for him. And I know those other families, those are special memories for them.
It is a sight to see and one of the best things in college football.
It may not be looking too good at the time, but to have that moment of solace and hope and joy and happiness, it means a lot. And that's why every single wave is special.
You're there for the game, but are you there for the game or are you there for the wave? Maybe some people were kind of doing this at first, and now I'm jumping like crazy, so excited to wave to these kids and just let them know that we're cheering them on.
A simple gesture, fans waving, and yet, we're sitting up here, we were melting up in the booth.
A physical movement of a hand isn't going to heal anybody, but to see all the stories and all the attention those kids have gotten, hope to God it's around until the end of time.